What sort of man is this, whom even the winds and the sea obey? I'm not sure about you, but when the Gospels refer to water, whether it's fishing or boating, my ears tend to perk up. I guess it's because being here on the coast, boating and fishing is part of our lives. We can relate to what they're experiencing much more than someone who lives, say, in the middle of a desert or in a forest or on a mountain. They have no idea how a sea could be so violent in such a short time. Now, I was raised in Kenner, Louisiana. I used to fish Lake Pontchartrain a lot. And one thing we all knew was that the lake was shallow, and it didn't take much of a storm to kick up the lake into a fury. A good boater would keep his eye open to the skies, aware of the potential hazards. And many experienced boaters were lost in that lake for not respecting the power it had. Now, with that in mind, I can relate to the disciples in today's gospel. I'm sure that these fishermen were well aware of the weather conditions that day and probably were leery of getting into that boat with Jesus. But they followed him. Even though their normal senses may have told them it may be better and safer to stay on shore, they followed him into the boat. Now, the violent storm came upon the sea, and even with their experience in boating, they still weren't able to keep their boat from taking on water. Their worst fears were upon them. They were about to drown. Now imagine this, especially if you've been on a boat in rough water. How was it possible for Jesus to fall asleep? A bouncing, rolling, tilting boat is not the best place to take a nap. But now the question, which one of us in that same situation with the boat sinking would not have awakened Jesus? Now think about it. Jesus wasn't an experienced boatman. After all, he was from Nazareth. There wasn't any large bodies of water near there. So why wake him? What can he do? The disciples were at wits' end. They knew they couldn't handle it themselves, and in desperation, they wake Jesus. Jesus wakes and says to them, "Why are you terrified, O you of little faith?" Now, was Jesus testing their faith, or was Jesus testing their trust in him? I'd say it was probably a little bit of both. You see, Jesus knows that if they or we have just a little faith, we too, with him, can calm the storms in our lives. Now, the storm in today's gospel is a resemblance to our own life experiences, where our own personal circumstances can change without warning. We can suddenly find ourselves in the midst of some raging personal storm. One day all is well, and then the next day, excuse my expression, but all hell breaks loose. How do we handle these personal storms? Do we welcome Jesus into the boat of our life so that he can calm our fears? We're all on a journey, and you can't just stand on a shore and expect to get to your destination. It is expected that we all will experience different storms in our lives. So what are your storms? What rocks your boat? Is it physical ailments? Are you struggling with your spirituality? Or is it a financial storm? We all face storms daily: sorrow, anxiety, temptations, and worry. How do we handle these storms? Do we try to wait them out, or do we try to solve them ourselves? Do we just stand on the shore, afraid to get into the boat? By committing and getting into the boat with Jesus, it is the only way for us to find peace in the storm. Remember the storms of doubt or trying to uproot your faith. Jesus is there in that storm with you, waiting for you to call on him. Now, to all of us, whatever our dangers and no matter their origins, Jesus responds by offering us the great calm that is available to us through our faith. So, brothers and sisters, let us today step into the boat with Jesus and wake him up in our hearts to handle and calm the storms we will face in our lives. And may we sit back and be in awe of what he can and will do. God bless.